Welcome to another edition of the Red Zone podcast. I'm your host, Emmanuel Point du jour, and today, another week, another edition of CFL Tiers, heading in to week 10 already of the CFL season. So let's jump right into it, and we start at the bottom with the Edmonton Elks. Feels like a weekly tradition now with them at the bottom. I want them to move up. But they take another loss here, just so close. So close against Hamilton. There's no moral victories sitting at 1-6. Cody Fajardo threw a perfect pass into the end zone with about a minute left, down 4, and it got dropped by Keon Julian Grant. It was right in the cookie basket, and he just couldn't come up with it, dropped it, and they ended up losing the game. The week prior to that, in Saskatchewan, they were down 21-4, nearly completed the comeback, fell just short by 3 points. And man, these close losses must just be heartbreaking for Edmonton. And yes, they're still in the crossover spot with BC into the East Division, because the bottom of the East isn't that good right now. So you have a chance there, but you need to start getting wins. And you've played better with Cody Fajardo at the helm, but the W's aren't showing up. So let's see what they can do in the next couple weeks, trying to find a win. The next tier, we have the Ottawa Redblacks, and I put slow and steady. It's been a rough start for Ottawa, but they did pick up the win last week against the Calgary Stampeders. A dominant victory, 31-11. The defense probably played their best game of the season. The offense, it was kind of a tale of two halves. They played good in the first half, but in the second half kind of slowed down a little bit, but they were still able to get the victory. That defense, again, was spectacular on the night. And Ottawa, all of a sudden, with that win, gets themselves right back into a playoff picture, with Toronto for that last spot in the East Division, or that last playoff spot. There's like 4 teams competing for it right now, with the Western teams crossing over. So you never really know, but Ottawa now, it's kind of looking up for them, and they play Toronto this weekend. So we'll see if they can make it 2 in a row. Moving right along to our next tier, we have an opportunity with the BC Lions and the Toronto Argonauts. For BC, they faced their last West Division opponent on July 19th against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, in which they lost. Their next one, not until September 19th against the Calgary Stampeders. So they go, sometime here just facing East Division opponents. So there's a chance for BC to move up, get some wins here with the East kind of struggling there. Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto. You can get some wins there. And we'll see if they can. I mean, it's not going to be easy. The flight's longer. But you have an opportunity. Let's see if they can take advantage. And then for Toronto, you face Ottawa this weekend, and Ottawa looked really good against Calgary. Their offense, their defense, got healthier, and they had a really good game. So it's not going to be easy for the Argos, but the Argos themselves have played good these past few weeks on offense. DeMonte Coxey, Nick Arbuckle pushing the ball down the field, and that connection has been on fire. So we'll see what they can do, and maybe they get that final playoff spot in the East Division. That's a really intriguing race right now that we're going to have to watch out for, because there's just so many teams fighting for that spot. So we'll see what the Argos can do this weekend. Let's get to the next tier. We have mixed results with the Montreal Alouettes and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Both of these teams' quarterbacks did not have the greatest weekend. A lot of interceptions, I think a combined 4 for these two quarterbacks. McLeod Bethel Thompson, not as many yards as you would like. They got blown out against Saskatchewan. Yeah, their receiving core was kind of depleted, but they just did not They didn't look good against the Riders, and I think it was 34-6. It was just bad, and they lost that game in a blowout. But for Winnipeg, they won against Toronto despite Chris Streveler throwing 3 interceptions. They actually had 3 touchdowns not come from the offense. 2 was on special teams, and then 1 was on the defensive side of the ball. So the offense, they're going to be thanking the special teams and defense for that victory. So it was 2 very different results despite quarterbacks struggling. We'll see if their offenses can rebound next week, or should I say this weekend. I think Winnipeg is getting Zach Collaros back in the lineup. Montreal is going to keep rolling with McLeod Bethel Thompson until Davis Alexander is cleared to come back. Yeah, offenses will need to rebound for sure. Let's get to the next tier. We have the Calgary Stampeders, and I put Sudden Spiral. Just 3 weeks ago, we were talking about them being the best team in the CFL, and now 2 weeks later, with some unfortunate circumstances, injuries, Vernon Adams going out, it happens. You have to play through injuries. A lot of teams have done it this year, but it was unfortunate, and now they've lost 2 straight games trying to get back to their winning ways against Winnipeg. They've had success against them this year. Let's see if they can sweep this season series. And then finally, at the top of the tiers, we have the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. A possible Grey Cup preview. Yeah, I mean, both of these teams have been red hot. You have the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who have won 6 straight games. Bo Levi Mitchell and company are on fire, and now they're bringing back Drew Wolotarski, he's going to make his first appearance of the season in their next game on Shea Day. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is going to be in Hamilton. What a good game to go to against BC, and if they can keep those winning ways going, man, they have just been great. And that defense also, give credit to them. They've also been really good. Saskatchewan, they're also on a winning streak. I think a 3-game winning streak. I know I could have put Saskatchewan at the top of the tiers alone by themselves. Much deserved, but I'm going to put them on the same tier with Hamilton. I'm going to give them some love here, and they're tied for now. For now, we'll see what happens after the slate of games in week 10. But without further ado, let's get into our quick picks for this weekend, as I have the Tiger Cats making it 7 straight victories over the BC Lions on Thursday Night Football. On Friday, I have Edmonton winning in Montreal against the Alouettes. They've been so close the last couple weeks. I think they finally get it done in Montreal. I got Toronto winning at home against the Redblacks, and then I have the Stampeders bouncing back after 2 straight losses against Winnipeg, sweeping the season series. So there are my picks, and that will do it for this edition of CFL Tiers. I hope you enjoyed. Join me next week where we do it again, and we'll see which teams won, which teams lost, and rank them in the next edition of CFL Tiers. But until then, hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see ya next time. Peace.